Hello, my dear students and the rest of the learners. Welcome to part 9 of an 11-part series of tutorials on database application using Microsoft Access. In this tutorial, we are going to learn on how to design and use labels. My name is Meme JM, or you can simply call me Emily Swap. A label is a sticker or a piece of paper put on an item for the purpose of identification. Mailing labels are an easy and convenient way of addressing any correspondence that needs to be delivered using the traditional postal system or using any other mode of delivery. Microsoft Access, therefore, makes it easy to print mailing labels. The same data that is used to produce the labels can also be used with Munch or Mail Munch in Microsoft Word. To create a label using the Labels wizard, you open the database that contains the details which you want to be printed on a label. And then from the database window, you click on Create menu and click on Labels. From the label wizard, you specify the label size you would want, the unit of measure, the label type, and the filter by manufacturer if necessary, and then you click Next. It is important, my dear students and the rest of the learners, to note that these specifications will depend on the type of paper that you have in which the details be printed into. You have to know the size of the label that you have so that it will be appropriate and it will fit the details that you are going to be printing into it. You also need to know the unit of measure for that paper which you have so that then you can choose the same in Access. You also need to know the label type. Which type of label do you want to produce? And then, because those labels or those pieces of papers come from specific manufacturers, you also need to be aware of the manufacturer for that piece of paper or that label or sticker into which you are going to print the details. And then based on that knowledge, you use that to make the specific selections. So from the label wizard, you specify the label size that you want. That is one which will match with the paper or the sticker that you have, the unit of measure, the label type, and also you select the appropriate manufacturer. And then you click on Next. You can also click on Custom or on Customize button to specify your new label size and click on New button for your individualized specifications. In other words, if you realize that some of the settings are not predefined, you can set them by yourself. So you click on the Customize button within the wizard, and then you can set your specifications. And you can even click on New button and make your own settings. Then you specify the font attributes you need for your text, such as font color, font type, font size, and the font weight. You also specify whether to italicize and underline your text, and then you click Next. You then choose the fields you would like to appear in your label, and also type text you would like to appear on every label into the prototype label, and then you click Next. You can specify the fields you would like to sort your labels by from the available fields, and then you click Next. Then you type the name for your labels and select on whether to see the labels as they will be printed or choose to modify the label design. Finally, you click on the Finish button. Note that you can modify labels in the same way you modify a form or a report in Design View. So the following is a sample demonstration on how to create and modify labels from a database by the name Emediswap Hotel. So the first step that you need to do when you are creating labels is to click on the table that contains some of the fields that I'm going to use for your label. So in my case, I will click on customers contacts. So let me click there. However, you can make those adjustments later. It's not a must that you click on that table as you begin. And then you click on the Create menu and select Labels. So click on Labels. Once you click on Labels, a label wizard appears. So this wizard creates standard labels or custom labels. So just as I have said, you need to know the label, the type of label that you are going to make your printing into. So you need to know or be aware of the product number for your label. Like in my case here, you can see there are very many product numbers. Let me choose this one, C2651. And of course, it has dimensions. So you can see that each of these product numbers have specific dimensions. So if I choose, for example, C2651, it will automatically go with dimensions 5 by 6 and 1.5 inches. And the number cross is 5. So it will depend with the one that you have. If you know it is C2160, then that will go with 1.5 by 2.5. And number across will be 3. So let me choose this one. And then unit of measure, let me measure in English. The label type, because I'm going to be printing, let me say it is sheet feed, where I'll be feeding one sheet at a time, or to pick one at a time. You can also click on the continuous based on how you want yours to be. So my label type is sheet feed. Filter by manufacturer. Which manufacturer do I want? So let me assume my manufacturer is Avery. So I choose Avery. Remember I have said you can also click on customize and then you can make your own specifications. And also you can choose the unit of measure and the label type. You can even click on new and do the same. Type your own, the name of your label, and choose the unit of measure, the label type, the orientation, etc. So if I type, for example, FF, if I type FF, for example, then I can choose, for example, metric, I can choose continuous, I can choose landscape, I can select number of copies, etc. So let me cancel that. I'm not interested with that myself. And let me close this also. So from there, you click on next. Then what font and the color would you like your text to be? Remember, if the label that you have in which you'll be printing is of a certain color, then you must be very careful that you choose a color that will not be blocked by the background. It should be, if the paper is like, for example, it is of a certain color like pink, don't choose pink color for your text. So let me decide my font name. Let me choose Times New Roman. So I can just type Times New Roman and then Barotic. Times New Roman, Barotic. That's my font name. Font weight, let it be bold. Let me have it as bold. Font size, so that it is legible, let me choose 14. Do I need to italicize it? Yeah, I can have it in italic. Do I need to underline? No, let me not underline. The font color, let me choose blue. Then I can click OK. And then once I am done with that, I can click next. What would you like on your mailing label? Construct your label on the right by choosing flows from the left. You may also type text that you would like to see on every label right in the prototype. So in my case, I can type the name. I can type from Emily Swap Hotel, from Emily Swap Hotel. Then to, then I can now insert my fields. So I can click on address. For example, to PO Box 10. Now you can see that something is missing. We don't have the name because the table I selected did not have the details, but we are going to add them later. So we can modify in case you find that something is not provided within the wizard, you can still add it by modifying your label. So for now, let's click on next. Then we are told that we can sort our labels using one or more fields. So do I need to sort mine for now? No. But I can sort it by city so that those which are for the same city, they can be together. So let me click by city, and then I add that sort criteria there. Then I can click on next. What would you like? What name would you like for your report? Let me call it labels, customers, contacts. Let me take the proposed one. So what do you want to do? See the labels as they will look when printed or modify. So let me see them as they will look, but of course I'll modify personally. And then I can click on finish. So you can see how my label looks like. Where are the details that we have selected? You can see what we only have is from Emily Swap Hotel. So we need to do more modifications to this document. If I click on landscape, how will it look like? You can see my details are still missing. So what are we supposed to do? We are going to modify it. So I can click on close print preview. And then we have been taken to the design view for our label. So I can make modifications here. So let me drag this. Let me adjust this so that we have a bigger space for our label details. And then I can also click on this, and then I can drag it like that. And then I can also resize this by dragging it just as we did for reports and for forms, like that. Let me preview it. Let me open it in design view so that we see how it will look like. But I have to save it first. I have to save the changes first. So let me click on save. Remember, we have called it what? We have called it labels customer contacts. And therefore, as you can see, the name is appearing under reports. So the labels are treated just like reports. So let me open this label and then see how it looks like. So I can click on open. So you can see that our label has details now. But you see there's a field which is missing, the name of the person. So we can still modify. We can modify these labels. We can modify these labels. Remember, these ones will be cut. These are different labels altogether. Each is a label by its own right. So these are labels. Now we can adjust them further. We can modify them. So I can close on labels here. I can close this. And then I can open it again in design view. So I can click on it and click design view. Once we have done that, you can see there's this button here. Let me close this. There's add existing fields. So I can click on add existing fields. And then from the front list, I can choose the table that contains the names for my customers. So I can click on customer details table, and then you can see now I have first name and second name, which are missing. So I can double click on the first name, and you can see it is added now here. And I can also double click on second name. So those are the two fields that were missing. So I can then click on close for field list. And now I need to reorganize my labels. So here I will now add the missing fields. So I'll use the same syntax or format like the one you can see here. So I'll get my first name, and now I'll add it here. So it will be, I can add it here. I can add it here. So I can copy this. I can copy this as it is. I can copy that, click, and I can copy that as it is. I can click on copy, and then I can paste it. I can paste it here. Click on the paste. Now, what have I copied? I should have copied the name. So I can remove that. Then copy this field. Or just drag it there and let me copy it. So copy. And then I can paste it here. Click there. And So I can click there again, click on copy, and then I can paste it here. If the paste is refusing, you can see it is refusing, I can just place it here manually. So let me do that. Pick this field, or let me delete this altogether so that then I'm able to add them manually, just like the same way we did under reports. As you can see, even if you add the fields, for example, even if you double click a field like that, you add it here. Then from field list, you double click second name and you add it here. You realize that you cannot copy this, you cannot copy that and paste it inside here. You can see, even if I right click, there is no paste command. Even if you click on home, you see there's no paste. So what you do is you don't need to drag any of these fields there. You can just type those fields as they are. So let me delete these controls. So I can delete that control and I can delete second name, and then I can just type here. So you just need to type your or include your fields by typing them as follows. Like now it is from Emily Swap Hotel. Ooh. Then I can have and there. Then my first field is a first name. So type first name. That is the field as it is, as you can see from the side there. So that's how it is. So first name. And then you have to put that in bracket that way. That indicates that that's a field. And then you put and then space. And the space, you use double quotes like that. And then and the second one. So include the next and. And what? The second field. That is second name. Remember, I'm writing them the way they are from my table. And then I have to put and then space. So double quotes like that. If I want to have commas, I can have, for example, first name and second name. Then inside these commas, I can put inside these quotes, double quotes, I can have a comma there. PO box, whatever, maybe comma, Isiolo. Let's see how it looks like. So let me click on save. And then we can right click on label customers contacts and click open. Great. So those are our labels. You can see the first one is from Emily Swap Hotel to Julia Mukami. Samson Muarete, PO box that. So we need to format it further. So we can format these details further by putting a space. You can see my first and second names are very close to each other. So I can increase the spacing. So let me close these labels by clicking on the close, and then I can open the labels again, labels customer contacts in design view. And then I can put the space. So here, where I have double quotes, I can increase that space there. like that. I can also increase the space in between here, like that. I can also increase my space in here, and I can adjust this control. Let me say undo. Then I can adjust this control that way. I can also center. I can click this from MLSWAP and center it. So I can click on format menu and click on center alignment. And then I can even change the font color for it. I can change the font color. So I can select that text like that and change the color. Let me put pink. Let me select that color. I click OK. So let's save our labels. Remember, you can also minimize the font size. So I can click on that label and change this font size to 12. That way, I can adjust this control like that. I can also adjust like that. Then I can click on save and let's close this design view. And then we open our labels to see how they will look like. So you can see how my labels look like. So let me return MLSWAP to where it was. You can see it is not balanced. So let me open again using on design view, using design view, and then take this one back to where it was, or I can adjust a little bit like that. Let's view and see how it will look like. Not yet. So I can right click again in design view and readjust it further that way. Let's open it and see how it looks like. Not yet. So let me simply left align from MLSWAP. So I'll click on format menu and then I'll choose left alignment. Then I can click on save. Let me close design view and I open now my labels. So you can see my labels are like addresses. And they are very specific, they are very clear. To Samson Mwadede, PO Box 32 Kakamega. Julia Mukami, PO Box 546 Embu. So that's how we set labels. That's how we work with the labels. So once the labels are ready, then the next thing we need to do is to print them out on our labels. So to print the labels, you open the database that contains the labels you wanted to print. And then you right-click the label that you want to print and click Print Preview. In case you notice some layout errors, you click on Page Setup to set the paper settings. You can also set the paper size, margins, page layout, and other settings by clicking on the respective tools for the Print Preview. Then click on Print from Print Preview menu or from the File menu. Then set the printer options, printer type, print range, and number of copies. Then you click OK to print. So the following is a sample demonstration on how to print labels from the database by the name MLSWAP Hotel. So we want to print labels from MLSWAP Hotel. So from this list of objects, you can see that we have Under reports, we have one called labels customers contacts. So this is the one that you want to print. So we proceed as follows. You first right click on it and you click on print preview so that you see how it will look like. So I'll click on print preview. I'm being told that some data may not be displayed. There is not enough horizontal space on the page for the number of columns and number and the column spacing you specified. Click page setup on file menu, then click columns tab and reduce the number of columns or the size of the columns. So already you can see that I'm being told that the sum of the data is not properly placed on the paper. So click OK. So let me change this and click on portrait. Then I'll click OK. So you can still see that some parts are not displayed. Why? Because I am printing labels. So I have to do some changes. So what are some of the settings that I need to make so that all the labels are displayed? And the question is, are all the labels supposed to be displayed on the same sheet of paper, or each is supposed to be on its own separate paper? So as you have seen, you can see that when we try to print, we are being told that those number of labels cannot fit within our paper. So let me close or click on close print preview. Remember, when you open our labels, they look like that. So how do you proceed to print? So let me right click again on the labels that I want to print and click on print preview. When I click on print preview, you can see I'm being told that some data may not be displayed. There is not enough horizontal space on the page for the number of columns and the column spacing you specified. Click page setup on the file menu, click the columns tab, and then reduce the number of columns or the size of columns. So let me click on OK. So currently, that's how our labels are looking like. And you can see they are not even complete. Like these ones here, they are not even complete. Remember, there are those specifications that we made for our labels. And therefore, the Microsoft Access is noticing that if we print these labels the way they are, some of them will not fit. So I have to make some adjustments. So in this case, what we are going to do is to reduce the number of columns. So we are going to click on page setup. So I'll click here on page setup. Once on this screen for page setup, I will go to columns. So I'll click on columns. Currently, it informs me that number of columns are 5. And the row spacing is there, the column spacing is there. So I can reduce the number of columns to 2. Let's see how it will look like. Then I can click OK. You can still see that some of the information is missing. You can see, like on this side, you can see on one side, the addresses are missing. So I can reduce those number of columns further to 1. So I'll click on page setup and then click on columns tab and reduce it to 1. Then I can click OK. Good. You can see our labels have now fit on this paper. So there's waste because this is in landscape. Or is it landscape or portrait? You can see that is portrait. What about if I click landscape? How will it look like? There will even be more space that will be wasted here. Remember, these are labels. It's not about A4, nor A3, nor A2. So this is okay. So let me go back to portrait. So our labels have now fit on this screen or on this sheet. And therefore, we can now proceed and print. Once we have seen through the preview that our labels are okay, as you can see, then we can proceed and click on print. So I'll click on, before that, look here. If you click 2 pages, how will it look like? There is no second page. My labels are fitting within 1 page. So I don't need to click on 2 pages. So let it remain on 1 page. So then I can click on print. As usual, I have not installed any printer. But if your printer is installed, on the print dialog box, under printer name, you click here and choose your printer. In my case, let me choose Microsoft Print to PDF. And then under print range, you specify the pages to print. If you want all, you click all. If you want specific pages, you specify them here. And if you want to do further setup, you click on setup and do the settings as you would want. Then you specify the number of copies that you want, 2 or 3. Let me click 2 for now. Let me choose 2 copies. Let me choose 2 copies. And then once you are through with the setting, you can click OK. You can see the from value cannot be empty. So I have to click on all. I am printing all because it's a single page. So then I can click OK. And then because I'm printing to PDF, I can type my labels as labels. And I'm saving them in the folder called databases. If it was a printer, the printer will just pick directly and print on the labels. So once I've typed the name, I can click on save. However, remember, if you are printing using a printer, once you click on print and you have chosen the printer and you have set the settings, the stickers or the labels will just come out from the printer. But to ensure you have inserted the pieces of papers in which the printing will be done, or you have inserted the labels or the pieces of papers to be labeled. So that's all. Let me click on close print preview. Let me also close on the labels and see whether our labels have been printed. So let's scroll or search for our labels. If we are printing through a printer, we would now collect our labels from the printer. But now we are printing them to PDF. So let me search for my folder. So I'll click on that folder, and then it is in the folder called databases, and we have called them labels. So here it is. As you can see, we have printed just now, and this is the time when we have generated the labels. So there, that is our label. So let's open it, see whether we have 2 copies of the labels and where they are the same as the ones that we have already decided. So right click on it and click open. Exactly. These are our labels. So one page had these labels up to the last person on that sheet, who was James Kamau. And we have produced 2 copies. So this is the first sheet. This is the first set. And you can see here it is, page 1 or sheet 1. So we have produced 2 copies. So we expect them to be 2 sheets. So I can then click on sheet 2. Or I can just scroll to sheet 2. And you can see this is sheet 2. And these are our labels. These are our labels. So that's how you do the printing. And you can see if there was a printer, a physical printer, loaded with the appropriate papers for the labels, then this would be printed exactly as they are. And that's how we use Microsoft Access to design and use labels. And with that, my dear students and the rest of the learners, we have come to the end of part 9 on designing and using labels. You can now continue to part 10 of the 11-part series, in which we are going to learn on how to program information in Access using macros. Congratulations for learning part 9 of 11 on designing and using labels in database application series. You can access the rest of the tutorials in this series, as well as other computer or ICT videos, by clicking or tapping on MLSWAP ICT YouTube channel below this video. To subscribe to the channel, tap on subscribe button below this video in YouTube if it's not currently reading as subscribed. For any further correspondence, kindly write it to us through the email mlswap@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening to me. Let's meet in part 10 of the series, and God bless.